hello there again, M2s. Good morning or good afternoon. Welcome to our lesson number 4. And today we are going to continue our discussion on our group D phrasal verbs. And I just hope you have again your notebooks with you, ready at hand for you to be able to jot down details about our lesson for today. Now, if you can still remember our last discussion that we had, we already finished our first 4 of our group D phrasal verb. And we had already finished our verbs, such phrasal verbs such as fill up, fill in, or fill out. When we say, just to have a review of it, when we say fill up, if you fill a container up, it means to say that you keep putting or pouring on something until it is full. But then when you say fill in, it means that you're going to write information in the spaces. That's why if you notice, when you have the exam, there is an instruction there that goes fill in the blanks with the correct phrasal verb, for example, or fill in the blanks with the correct part of speech. So that is how you're going to use our fill in. And the last one that we already discussed was about the phrasal verb fill out. Okay. When we say fill out, it means to complete a form or an application form. For example, like when you registered at John Pratan Ritaya School, for the first time, you tried to fill out a form. And what do you put in that registration form? What are the details? So you're going to write your name, birth date, gender, your telephone number, your address, and many more. So maybe you can say she filled out the form or the registration form together with her mom. Okay, so from there, we are now going to continue our group D phrasal verb, and we are going now to have a look at our phrasal verb find out. Take note that find out can again be converted into its past form. That's why what is the past tense of find? Then we can say found. So found out. What is the meaning of this? It means to discover something or an information. And if you were going to use it in a sentence, then you would say, for example, I found out where she lives. Maybe that person had been really wanting to know the address of the person whom she or he is really trying to track down. So he tried to get that information. So apart from it, so we can say the police found out the truth about what happened maybe last night. So found out, therefore we mean to say that they discovered a piece of information about what happened last night. So then we also have our have on. And as you can see, have again can again take forms such as has for its present singular, we have for its plural, and had for its past tense. So you can use any of this. And what do we mean when we say have on? We mean to say that have on means to wear something, maybe clothing, shoes, or whatever you can wear in your body. So, when we have on, for example, Tanakrit. Tanakrit didn't have his glasses on. That's why he couldn't see the board. So again, in here, we made use of our past tense, but then using did means therefore that you need to use your verb one. And what is the direct object of your phrasal verb? We have your glasses and then your particle, which is on. Meaning, Tanakrit didn't wear his eyeglasses on. That's why he couldn't see the board. So then, moving on, we also have our look over. What is the meaning of look over? It means to quickly go through or to read fast on what you've written. It means to say that you're going to quickly examine something. Say, for example, I gave a quiz, and with that, oh, Batanarat was so quick to finish his quiz, and that's why he is when he was about to hand his paper, then I asked him to, Patanarat, please look over your paper for errors before you hand it in. Hand in means to give or to submit. So what does this mean? Maybe try to have a look at some minor errors, maybe your spelling before you submit your paper. So when we say look over, it means to quickly examine or go through something like your quiz paper or your essay or whatever you have written down. Okay. So then we also have our point out. Point out means to identify or to show or to tell someone something or to call the attention of somebody else. Maybe it means that you would like to emphasize that this should not be done next time. So in here, for example, again, I gave a quiz. And with that, I would like to emphasize that this error should not be repeated next time. Therefore, I can say that the teacher pointed out Titia's errors in the exam. So, it means that I am trying or I tried to identify or to show Titia what were her errors in the exam so that she will not repeat the same mistakes? And also, we have our printout. Oh, you always hear this whenever you try to print your research or your paper after you have already written or typed or encoded them in the computer. So, when we say print out, it means to create a hard copy, uh, a paper copy from the computer. For example, Noparut finished his report in science and printed it out, which means to say that he needs to have a paper copy in order that it is ready to be submitted to his teacher. So these are some of the um, phrasal verbs for group D separable phrasal verbs, by the way. And so, may I give you at least a minute to copy before we proceed to our group to our 10 until 14. And that would be the end of our group D phrasal verb. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to copy. Okay, so now that we have already have reached our number 9 for our group D, we continue on with the last part of the group D phrasal verb. And here we come in with our tear down. Okay. Tear down. Remember, tear here means we are not talking about your tears. So it is not a noun. Tear means it is, in here, it is a verb. When we say tear down, this is only used when you want to destroy something. But what is that something that you would like to destroy? We are only talking about a structure or what you call a building that you would like to tear down. But let's look at the form of the verb tear first. When we say tear, that is the present form. And now let's go back again to our review of our verb forms. What is the past tense of tear? Then we have our verb, which is tore, Tore. And then when we have our verb 3, then we can say that we have our torn verb. Now, again, you can use this instead of using our present form of the verb. Okay. So again, when we say tear down, it means to say that you are going to destroy you're going to destroy a structure. And when we say structure, we are talking about a building. We are talking about a building. That's what you're going to uh, tear down. Maybe the building is already very old. That's why the government needs to tear it down in order to build a new one. So we can say that they we try to use the past tense form of tear. So we say they tore down the building. They tore down the building and built a new one. And built a new one, or we are talking about a new building. And here we have the past tense for our particle, and this is our uh, object. Now, at times also we can use the torn, but in here you need already your helping verb, which is have. Okay, because we are in the, say for example, present perfect. Let's try to use this in the present perfect tense. So we can also have they come in with our have, because this is plural. That's why we use that helping verb. And then our verb 3, they have torn down the building. They have torn down the building and come in with the same continuation and built a new one. So, again, I would like to emphasize to you that you try at least to be creative in your way of composing or making your sentences by using different forms of the verb, of course, with the different tenses. So, that is what you call tear down. Now, there's also a very synonymous phrasal verb in here, but take note that it has to be used properly. We have our tear up, the same verb, but different particle to be used. But what is tear up? Both of them means to destroy something. But when we say tear up, we are going only to destroy, like for example, a cloth or a paper or a contract or a letter. We are not talking about the structure or the building, because when you're going to destroy a building or a structure, you need to use down as your particle. But when you're going to destroy only a paper, a letter, or a cloth or anything except the structure, then you need to use the particle up. So if that's the case, so let's look at the meaning or write down. It means to destroy what something in general. So what is that something? Maybe examples of which would be like a cloth, maybe a paper, maybe an example of a paper, what is in there, a contract, or maybe you would like to destroy a letter, and many more that you can also destroy. But how will you do that? To destroy something by ripping. So what do we mean by ripping? ripping. When we say ripping, it means by pulling. Okay. By pulling it into small pieces. By pulling it into small pieces. Okay. There. And for example, I have here a piece of paper. Maybe to at least show you, I have a piece of paper, and when you're going to tear up, then just tear it into small pieces like this. That is tear up. Okay? Now, so let's have the name also of like area. Mhm. So what did she do? Araya immediately or quickly there. Immediately, let's have the past tense. Tore, tore, tore. Immediately, uh, tore up the secret note. The secret note that Cholpapat gave her. Aha. So we have that Cholpapat gave her. Okay. So maybe before somebody will see it, she has to do something. So Araya immediately tore the secret note that Cholpapat gave her. Again, we have our past tense form of the verb and tore the secret note up. Okay. I can also separate it like this. Tore the secret note up that Cholpapat gave her. I forgot the particle. So we have our verb, our direct object, or the object of our phrasal verb, the secret note, and then up is your particle. So that is how we are going to use tear up. Again, remember the difference between tear up and tear down. Okay. So again, now we have our number 12. Let's have also another phrasal verb which uses the verb tear, which is tear out of. Sometimes you may or you may not use this preposition. This is a three-word phrasal verb. But often, of course, we use that phrasal, that preposition. Okay. So what do we mean by tear out of? It means to remove or separate. When you're going to tear out of something, you're going to remove or separate something else or something, are going to remove from something else. There you go. By what is the process? By forcefully, by forcefully ripping. By forcefully ripping, again, the meaning of ripping is pulling. By forcefully ripping or pulling it out. Okay. By forcefully ripping it out. Okay. Now, in this case, then, you should have something else to remove this thing that you want to rip. Say, for example, I have this notebook. Okay, I have this notebook and I want to tear out a page from this notebook. This is what you call the something else. Okay, so I have to tear out the page like this from something else, from a notebook. So you're going to tear out a page from something else. This is the meaning of tear out of. Now, how are you going to use it in a sentence? Let's have Jirajet. Okay. Jirajet's little brother, maybe, he found the notebook of Jirajet. Jirajet's little brother. Okay. So what did the brother do? Started. Okay. And then I am going now to use also the ing form. Tearing out. Okay. Started tearing out the pages. So this is now your direct object. The pages of his notebook. Because the notebook is just scattered on the floor. And of course, you know how kids are. So then he played with it. Therefore, he started already, this little brother started tearing out the pages of the notebook of Jirajet. So that is the meaning of tear out of. Then let's have a look as to how I use it. So let's have this tear as your verb, tearing. And then we have our out, also our off, which is our another particle. And this is now your, oh, sorry, the pages is also your object in your phrasal verb. So this is how to use our tear out, our tear up, and our tear down. Okay, so again, a minute to copy before we continue the last two remaining. So it's time for us now to have also our second to the last phrasal verbs for our group D. So at times, if you cannot find the maybe the place or the building that you're looking for, what is the most practical thing to do? So especially if you have been really looking and looking for it for a very long time or maybe an hour or two. So the best thing for you is to turn back or to turn around. So which is our next phrasal verb. So we have our verb which is turn and then our particle back, or at times you can also say turn around. That is also the same anyway. So if you're going to turn your or turn back, what do? You change your direction and go towards where you started from. So you just need to turn back. So in other words, what do? You're going to change to the opposite direction. Instead of moving forward, then you have to turn back and go back to where you came from. So that is the meaning of turn around. So it means to say to change. You're going to change to the opposite direction. So maybe you had been really walking and walking for 2 hours. So if we were to make a sentence for that, you can say, after 2 hours of walking, imagine that, and you haven't found yet the building. So what do? After 2 hours of walking, looking for the new sports building, for the new sports building, what did you do? You just turn, you have to turn back. So maybe we turn back, for it's already getting late. For it's already getting late. Okay. Now again, as you can see, I again made use of our past tense form of the verb and your particle. So what if you did not walk? Maybe you used your car. So what did you do? So we took, or maybe you got lost. So what did you do? We took the wrong road and had to turn back. Another example that you can uh, use for this phrasal verb is that we took the wrong road. Okay? And had to turn back. Okay. In this case, we have an infinitive form of the verb. Okay. That's why if you have an infinitive, you should always have a verb one. You do not use your verb two in here. But you might ask me, but teacher, we used our past tense there. Yes, we use our past tense form of the verb, but since we already have our infinitive form, always the rule is you always have to use only the verb one. Okay, so that is what you need to remember for your infinitive form of the verb. Okay, so last but not least for our phrasal verb group D is our turn over. Another verb which is the same with number 13, turn. Particle which is over. So what is the meaning of this turn over? Say for example, if you turn over something, you are going to turn the top side to the bottom. So what do you do? For example, after writing on this portion and you still need to continue, so what do? You need to turn over and then use the back part of the paper. That is just the simple meaning of turn over. It means to say, therefore, that you're going to turn the top side to the bottom. To turn the top side to the bottom. At least I have already illustrated and you can easily understand if it is with illustration. Say, for example, in a sentence, we can say, Tanakorn. Is this the correct spelling of your name, Tanakorn? Tanakorn turned over. Tanakorn turned over the paper and wrote on the back there. And wrote on the back. Okay. There. That is now the last phrasal verb for our group D. They are separable phrasal verbs, by the way. Okay. So if it is separable, then you can also change the position of your object. So we can also say, Tanakorn turned the paper over and wrote on the back. I had already been discussing before yet that when we have separable phrasal verbs, you can change the position of your direct object. That's what you have to remember. Okay, maybe 1 minute again to copy before I will give my further instructions about your worksheets.
Pando killed the beat.
Okay, so now that we are done with our groups C and D, I guess you are now ready to proceed to answer your worksheet number 2. This worksheet number 2 covers groups C and D, and we just finished it, right? Now, how are you going to answer? Please follow the instructions that I already had for your worksheet, right? So for our group C, what do? You are going to complete the sentences with the correct phrasal verb. And make sure that you are going to change the form of the verb if necessary. Just as what I had been doing in the sentences that I had been giving you. For example, I gave the verb one of it, but at times when I use it in a sentence, I use the verb to or at times I also use the verb three of it. It depends upon the tense. Now, if you're going to answer them, be sure that you need to change the form of the verb. Okay, so that's what you have to remember for worksheet number 2. So let's go to another activity that you need to finish as well. I, if you have your worksheets with you, go to the list of the vocabulary words. I had divided the vocabulary words for from week 1 until week 10. Now, I would like to start with our vocabulary and spelling. Vocabulary and spelling week 1. So I would like you now to get hold of your notebook and use it for your homework. Use it for your homework. And what are you going to do? Copy each word from the list that I had given, and after which you're going to identify the part of speech as well as look up for the meaning or meanings of each word. Write them down in your notebook. For example, the first word that I gave there is bogus. What part of speech is this? Is this an adverb? Is this an adjective? Is this a verb? Or is this word a noun? So you're going to identify. And then after that, you're going to give the meaning. If you find that there is more than one meaning, then maybe it would be best that you really have to get also the other meaning of that word. So, and lastly, you try also to search for the synonym or synonyms of the word. This is a better way how you will be able to understand the meaning of the words. Okay, so this is what you're going to do from number 1 until the last word, which is number 15. I suppose the last word there is the word atrocious. Same pattern that you need to do for all the words. Okay, so now, may I ask you to bring out, to get hold of your sheet, and I will try to read the words with you, and please repeat after me so that you know how to read them properly, and it would be easier for you also to remember them. Okay, so do you have now your vocabulary and spelling list with you? Okay. So as I read the word, please repeat after me. I'll give you time to at least repeat. Okay. So number 1, bogus. Bogus. Number 2, repeat after me. Okay. Assess. Number 3, communicable. Communicable. Number 4, adept. Adept. Number 5, anonymous. Anonymous. Watch out also for the correct stresses. Okay. Number 6, colleague, colleague. Number 7, appalling, appalling. Number 8, compile, compile. Number 9, benefactor, benefactor. Number 10, allotment. 11, clientele, clientele. 12, boisterous, boisterous. Now, as you can see, if we have the word uh, boisterous, the spelling is with an E. But when you're going to pronounce it or to read it, then you don't need to pronounce the letter E. So you would just say, I repeat after me, boisterous. Next, nuisance, nuisance. And then Next word, bland. Bland. Next word, atrocious. Atrocious. Okay. So that would be the list of the words that you're going to search on. Did I give you 15? Oh, I guess it's only 14. Okay. So I guess we only have 14 words. I will be giving you additional one word later on. So then for your activities or the things that you need to accomplish, worksheet number 2, and then your homework for vocabulary and spelling. Okay. So with this, I have to end. I will see you again for our next lesson, for lesson number 5. And it would be the last group of our phrasal verb. Okay. So yeah, last group or two more so that at least we can finish before we move on to our word formation. Okay, so I would like to say goodbye for now and see you again for our next lesson and stay safe, everyone. Okay, bye.